Welcome back to episode 18 of the Weekend Grill. Adrian here with you to discuss the weekend results and more with our very own Paul Italiano.
Thanks,
Welcome
H.
back.
Thanks, mate. Back in one piece.
I know.
It was good.
Viewers would have just seen the footage of you carrying on like a...
Let me tell you, that was a cracker game. It was seesaw. I think it was 6 lead changes in the last quarter.
Yeah.
But it was good to be there, away trip. There's nothing better when you're going away. Have you been interstate? Have you been interstate game?
Plenty of times.
Seen a win?
I haven't.
I've always told you to go for Collingwood. Out there, travel well. But it's good when you go into state. When you go into state and you get the win, it just honestly makes the weekend. But it was a good experience, good stadium. They weren't that feral. So I don't know what Maloney was talking about.
I reckon they. They would have been scared of you. I reckon they took one looky and they go, oh, geez, we can't start trouble with this bloke.
Well, maybe.
It looked like you had a very good
time. They were good. There were a lot of Collingwood supporters. It was a good win. 2 games clear, and then we're on to bigger and better things this week. The Baggers.
Yeah, mate, you won't be travelling interstate again for the rest of the year, that's for sure, mate.
No.
You'll be staying at home at the MCG. Look, on this episode here, we're going to be speaking about the weekend results again, obviously, along with your game and other games throughout the round. Some very consequential results. And have a lot of big bearing on the finals. So we'll speak about that. We're going to mention as well the biggest rivalry in Australian sports, which, in my opinion, is Carlton v Collingwood. No better time to speak about it. Carlton, Collingwood. So I'd be interested to get your take on it as well, and what it all means to you.
Central Coast, the Newcastle Jets.
I've never heard of them. Sorry, I actually don't know what you're talking about. The September run, so we've got 5 games left, Paul, and now not only is the positions from 5th to 8th, or even from 5th to 10th up for grabs, but I think we may have seen that maybe second position is up for grabs. So we're going to be having a look at the ladder and the run home for the teams that are in contention. Bring back the Who's Cooking segment. You're going to love Who's in Mine, and also have a preview for round 20. So let's get stuck into it. The weekend results will start on Friday night at Marvel Stadium, where Essendon came up against Western Bulldogs, and I was there. And
did you go?
I did. I went to that game.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so I thought it would be a very good spectacle. It turned out to be in the first quarter and a half, and then after that it was just one-way traffic. So, I mean, I'd love to know how you saw it if you got to watch it. I know you're in Adelaide, but I'm sure that you would have had a look at it and you would have seen.
I saw the second half. I was actually surprised it was 41 points in the end. I thought it was a little bit tighter than that.
Yeah.
I think the Dogs just kicked away in the last. I think it might have only been 16 points 3/4 time. And the Dogs kicked away. But I was very strong on the Dogs. I thought they were going to win. I don't think they're as bad as what they copped in the media.
Sure.
Over the last 2 weeks.
Yep.
Are they the 5th best team? Probably not. I think I got Geelong ahead of them. But I would probably say, I'd be comfortable to say they're the 6th best team in the comp.
Did you see
Do you agree with that?
Did you? No, I don't.
You don't? Who's better than them below them?
Geelong and Carlton.
Carlton?
Is there any? Yeah. Do you know who they are?
No, but I've got Geelong. I think the top 4 are the 4 best teams.
Yep.
Geelong 5th.
Sure.
And then I've got the Dogs, 6th best team in the comp. And I don't see anyone above them.
Yep.
Did you guys beat them? Well, they beat
they beat us in round 8 or 9, 7 or 8.
Yeah. Okay.
Saturday night at MCG. We did challenge them,
but
we didn't quite beat them.
Yeah.
Is there anything that you took out of that Friday night game between Essendon and Bulldogs, either highlighting or magnifying a weakness in Essendon, or either highlighting or a weakness,
I thought Essendon went
a strength with the Dogs?
No, I thought Essendon went into their shell a bit in the second half. Yep. They started chipping sideways, but they didn't take the game on. But the Dogs are not a bad. They're not a bad football team.
Yep.
And I think we'll see their run home later. But you're going to lock them in. They'll get a home final. You think they're going to finish 5th or 6th.
Yep.
They've got some talent on their list that I don't know if they can cause an upset. I wouldn't be surprised though.
Well, to me,
team, they've got X factor players.
I do agree with that. One thing that was firstly noticeable, particularly in the first quarter. Bulldogs couldn't get their running game going. So Essendon actually did a very good job to mitigate Bulldogs' the run and carry game, and they actually stopped them. And then I do agree, when that started to get going, Essendon, it was very, very evident that they were trying to go into that high ball retention mode where short kick mark, the uncontested marks and uncontested possessions were inflated to the roof.
Yep.
And I don't think that worked for them. Now, I'm not sure if that's sort of been a theme for Essendon for the majority of the year. It almost seemed like a defense sort of ploy, if that makes sense. Like almost like when someone puts it to them, when an opposition sort of asks the question, that it appeared to me that they sort of went into their shells, as you were saying earlier. And I also noticed, I think with Essendon, you can beat them with their defence when the ball hits the ground. So one thing, in an aerial contest, all their defenders fly. The moment the ball hits the ground, they have no if you have very good small forwards and ball winners at ground level at a contest, e.g. for Bulldogs, Anthony Scott, Cody Waitman, Bontempelli, a couple of examples there. The moment the ball hits the ground, that probably played into the Bulldogs' hand, and I think it's something that magnified Essendon, or magnified a weakness in their game. That's how I saw it. I also saw a team in Essendon that I don't believe, I mean, I'm not here to say who's worthy and who isn't worthy of a final spot, but if they play like that, they're not a finals team.
Well, no, they're not. Well, they only kicked 49 points. That's
they
horrible.
kicked 3 goals in the first quarter.
Yeah.
Right. And for the majority of that first quarter, to be fair, they probably should have been a lot further ahead.
Yep.
I don't think they capitalised. They did show a couple of very good signs. I just thought the Bulldogs had it on their term. The moment the second quarter started, Bulldogs had their running game carry. They were able to stop Essendon transitioning. And when Essendon realised there was a couple of instances in the game where they couldn't take that gap or they couldn't hit that pass, that's when they reverted to that sideways chip.
Yep.
Maintain possession. Let's be patient, which is fine. There's nothing wrong with being patient. But it just in the way that modern day games played, where a lot of teams are defending with zones and they're defending space. I mean, they're happy for you to have a kick to the side, chip it around.
Oh, 100%.
Try and spread the ground. It didn't work for Essendon. So, yeah, I'm not too sure where to for Essendon from here on in. Jordan Ridley is going to be out basically for the majority.
That's a big...
Another thing I did notice, he's so important.
Yeah, he is. That's a big out for them.
I'm not saying I underestimated him, but seeing him live in action and paying a close attention to him, Redman, Zach Merritt, all these individual players and how they played in a team and how they are to a team structure, Jordan Ridley's, in my opinion, by far their most important player. I know. And look, speaking of Mason Redmond, he just signed a contract, or allegedly, according to Footy Online, he just signed a contract. But 5 years, I think. Ridley being out for the rest of the year, I think is a massive blow for them. And now I don't see them playing finals. So
they've still got West Coast and
Kangaroos,
North.
which they'll probably both win, but they've got to come up against. We'll discuss their road ahead
that later on.
But yeah, they do have a tough run. Look, we're going to move on to Saturday MCG, where the Tigers triumphed over Hawthorn by a singular point. Now, I didn't get I watched highlights of this game, but obviously being at Marvel Stadium at the same time, I didn't get to watch a lot of it. From what I've read and what I've been told, Hawthorn really took it to them. And it was just situational things where, I think maybe the experience of Richmond overcame Hawthorn. Did you get a chance to have a look, at that game?
The last quarter of this one.
Probably the most important quarter.
Which was definitely the most important. But Richmond I think they made a sub. They brought on the new kid, Coulthard.
Yep.
And because Rioli was getting tagged, he hadn't done much of the footy, so they injected another runner off halfback, and he just changed the game. Provided that run, dash, carry off the halfback. He set up 2 or 3 goals.
Yep.
And Hawthorn were just... The thing is in AFL now, once you get momentum, it's almost hard to stop, especially with the 666.
Yeah.
So
A-firm, correct.
I think Hawks, Hawthorn then put a player behind the ball and it stabilised it for about.
Did Richmond counteract that? Did Richmond play the 7 forwards? Do you remember?
Yeah, so they had, I can't remember if it was not Will Day.
Scrimshaw?
I can't remember the defender it was, but they played us a loose.
Yeah.
And then they equalised it. They put Vlosten as a 7th forward.
Right. A very good reader of the ball.
Yep.
Okay.
And then Baker pushed forward too in the last, who, obviously kicked the winner.
Mm-hmm.
But Hawthorn stabilised it for a good 5 minutes. They stabilised the game, and then Richmond kicked 2 in 2 minutes.
Okay. Probably end up breaking their hearts.
Correct.
I just think, look.
Hawks kicked 2 points for the quarter.
Hawthorn kicked 2 points. Yeah, I know.
To
Yeah,
Richmond's,
I know.
6-3,
Yeah.
5-3.
Obviously, I will keep an eye on it while we're at Marvel. And just noticeably the whole way, Hawthorn just held that sort of 4 to 5 goal margin the whole time. And
It's interesting. Interesting game to watch it tactically.
What do you okay, it's funny you mentioned tactics because here we have an interim coach in Andrew McWalter who's obviously putting his hand up to have to take the job at Richmond. And you've also got a relatively young coach in Sam Mitchell, who I think tactically is one of the best coaches or will be one of the best coaches. And you mentioned tactics. Now, I'm unsure if you've heard of the aftermath of the press conference. It's been made public and not a big deal, but I think it's a worthy point to reference. The situational training, which I believe Collingwood do it well when they're 2 goals up, 2 goals down, etc. And it was made mention by Andrew McWalter that one of their leaders, Dion Prestia, sort of took them through and took it upon himself to take the team through situational training. This is what we're going to do. This is where we're going to position ourselves if we are in this position. On the contrary, Sam Mitchell was asked the same or similar sort of question in his press conference. And it was evident that they do not practice situational training. And I can sort of understand that because they're probably in a different part of their learning phase.
100%.
But it was interesting to see. I enjoyed the honesty from Sam Mitchell because he could have gone there in the position. If they won that game, he wouldn't have been asked that question. The fact that they lost that game was the reason he was asked that particular question. I thought he answered it with honesty. And I can understand from his position that it's probably at this point of their development, it's probably not at the forefront of their development. They've probably got a few other things that they're looking to invest time in. What do you think about it?
What I took out of that was that he said, look, we're not usually in games to then worry about situational training. So let's focus on getting our game right and nail, pretty much owning what you do, learning it correctly, and then executing it game day. And then once you've got players that experience, they know exactly what the coach wants of them, then you can work on, situational training.
Absolutely. Okay.
Because he's got a bunch of young kids. Does it really matter to Hawthorn now if they win or lose? Probably not.
No, I see. I
don't think it does.
No, see, this is where I think it does because
you think,
yeah.
So what's it matter if they won that game on the weekend? It's not really going to change.
It's a lot. One, for your psychology. 2, it builds culture. And 3, just as a whole morale booster for a young team to overcome an experienced team like Richmond who are fighting for a finals position. If they could have withstood Richmond's thrush or Richmond's all that momentum that Richmond had, I think it would have done wonders for such a young group. I'm not saying what's happened and the end result's negative for Hawthorn. I just try and look at the positives and go, well, it could have done them wonders.
Look, obviously getting the win. I agree with Sam. I honestly think let's focus on our game. I would say they'd walk out of that game glass half full anyway.
Yeah, cool.
We took it to them.
Yeah.
They overran us. We tried saving the game. They had too much momentum.
Yeah.
And they'll go back to the drawing board. I don't think it's going to affect them that much.
Fair enough.
But 100%, I agree with what he's saying.
Yeah. No, that's fair. Just before we move away from that game, I'm a big Kane Corn fan. And Kane Corn's raised the topic about, yes, Richmond won the game, but does it highlight their aging list? And there was, I don't know what program it was on. It may have been on SEN or on Channel 9. But he was highlighting some of the players that are on Richmond's list. And it was quite alarming, the age demographic of that list and whether it probably covers over a few cracks. Do you have anything to say? Do you have an opinion on that?
Oh, I think they're going to have to go backwards to go forwards.
Okay.
They're going to lose Rewalt,
Cochin probably.
Cochin, Presti is getting on. How old's Presti? You're 32?
No, he's 30.
30.
Tom Lynch is 30. Dusty's 32.
So they're going to lose a bulk of
Grimes is 31 or 32.
Yeah. So they're going to lose a bulk of their sort of core.
Yeah.
But all the positive for them is they've also got a core.
Your Tarantos, your Hoppers. Short, Baker. Yeah, I agree. They've
got a core that you come into the club and say, I've got a core. Let's work around this core now and pick up some players.
Absolutely, which are in there probably their 25 to 28 range. Yeah. I don't think all these
rebound again.
Yeah, okay. So that's an interesting one for the new incoming coach of Richmond. For me, I hope it's Mini. Yeah. I sort of like his style.
He's funny. He's good.
It's not about him being funny or anything. I like his. I enjoy listening to him.
The way he talks.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. He's a good representative for a football club like Richmond.
He looks like a hard worker.
Agreed. He's had to fight. He didn't even play 100 games. Like, he's had to fight.
He got delisted and he fought his way back on the list. I think he played in the granny for Saints.
St Kilda. Yep. Well, we'll move on from that and we'll go to Marvel just quickly, where Carlton took care of business and beat West Coast Eagles by 71 points, and Charlie Curnow kicked 10 goals.
Should be asterisk next to his Coleman this year. He's kicked 19 goals against West Coast.
Is he the only player that's versed them?
Well, versed him twice.
Carlton the only club that's versed them twice.
Wow. One of little many.
I'm asking. You're the one saying there should be an asterisk.
He's kicked 1/3 of his goals against West Coast.
Okay. So because no one else had the opportunity to do that, there's an asterisk on Charlie's name.
That's right, yep.
Okay. Very, very
just
good.
Putting it out
is that the best you can come up with?
I'm just putting it out there.
I'm asking, is that the best you can come up with?
I'm just putting it out there.
That's pretty poor. Anyway, I thought Carlton did a very good job. It would have been very easy to enter this game being lazy, apprehensive, if you want to put it. There was a few question marks on some of their players with fitness, which obviously they withdrew them. I thought the way Carlton approached the game from that first quarter, from the moment the ball was bounced, was very, very good. And to me, that is an attitude, and it's an attitude that's changed from the start of the year. It would have been very easy to rock up to this game like some other clubs have done against West Coast and sort of not flopped it, but be very lazy, complacent, laconic, all those type of words, if you want to put it. It was a very professional performance from Carlton. Unfortunate about some of the injury clouds that have come out of the game. From what I saw, the way that Carlton played was very good, albeit against West Coast too. I'm just going to also mention, if you're going to put an asterisk, I wouldn't put it against Charlie's name. I'd put it against Carlton's win. And that one reason is it's borderline impossible for a team to be that bad. To me, it's almost an impossibility. They are horrible. It's one of the worst AFL teams that I have seen. And I know it's a bit rich coming from a Carlton fan. We've had some pretty bad teams. But
no, this is another level.
This is ridiculous. It's getting out of control. Like, it's unattractive.
And they're so stubborn. They just refuse to admit, like, you need a new coach. It's simple as that. If you watch an Adam Simpson press conference,
that was bad.
It's like watching
a
fucking reserves coach in Division 8 Vafar Rezzies, mate. He's so disheartening. There's no energy about him. So what?
Do you blame that? Do you blame him?
I don't blame him.
Where's he going to derive the energy?
Where do your players draw energy from if your coach is not energetic? That is
potential leaders of the club.
Yeah,
he's not the only leader of the club.
They're playing Shuey. He's done a hammy again. Natanui's out for another 10 months. I genuinely can't remember the last time he even fucking played.
I don't remember that either. Well, they've got some big questions or they've got some big problems to solve.
Change up there.
And I'm not just talking about.
I thought you were going to win by 130 points at one stage.
Yeah, we're up by 40 within the first 10 minutes of the game, and then Sam Walsh was on track for one of the best individual games ever until he came. He was a man possessed.
The one thing out of that game is that it's a spew because you had the game wrapped up. Yep. So to come out with injuries is...
The injuries were actually very early in the game. And to be fair, despite Charlie kicking all those 10 goals, there was a part of me probably at half time, I just thought like, do not get injured. Like we can ill afford.
He's your last one.
He's the last pin standing at this stage, and it was a game where I thought Carlton went in there with the right attitude. West Coast didn't, as they haven't for the whole year. Carlton took care of business. They did what they needed to do, the way that they played, and the attitude and almost the respect that they showed to West Coast, saying, look, we know you're an AFL side. Like, we're not going to take you very lightly. Like, Carlton took West Coast very seriously, and I think that's an attitude shift, and I think it's for the good for Carlton. Hopefully their injuries are not too bad. We'll find out more later in the week. But look, we'll move on. This is a game that I didn't watch a lot of. Brisbane and Geelong. I was told Geelong came home with a run. Just looking at the scoreboard, it was 11 points there. I think it was a game Brisbane needed to win, and they
Brisbane
did.
were in control for most of the game.
Okay.
I actually watched a bit of it.
Yeah.
I think I watched till about half time.
Yep.
But they were in control. Like, they were all over Geelong. Geelong got a bit of a run on, but yeah, I think they got it to 11 that was the closest it ever got to be honest. Fair
enough. All right, we'll move on from that. Fremantle, Sydney. Sydney keep their finals hopes alive. I think some questions got to be asked at Fremantle. I don't want to dive too much into this because the next game I think was the game of the year so far. Highly anticipated. Port Adelaide v Collingwood.
Cracker
85-83. The Pies triumphed by 2 points. How did you see? I mean, might be hard to get your honest assessment. The reason is, okay, one, you were at the game.
Yeah, I haven't watched the replay yet either.
Secondly, you probably would have been more highly motivated highly emotional about it. But is there anything that you saw there that may have shown you a chink in Collingwood's armour? Or is there something there that you saw in Port Adelaide you go, okay, I think other teams should be careful of this? Or is there something you saw in Port Adelaide to go, well, you know what, they're probably not the second best team, and this is why? Is there anything you took out of the game?
I honestly thought at 3/4 time, they've thrown every punch at us.
Yep.
And they're only 17 points ahead. And Collingwood has his psychological, and it's true, I'm telling you. It's almost like if you leave the door ajar open at 3/4 time, you know what's going to happen. And I think Sidebottom kicked the first, Dacos kicked the second, and then it's like, oh, here we go. We know what's happening.
Okay.
I was confident all through that last quarter we were the better team. But
for the whole game or that last quarter?
No, just the last quarter we were the better team, and we got the run on.
Yep.
But this is being honest, Port should have put the game away in the third quarter.
Right.
They didn't. That's the issue.
Well, I think we've noticed that with a lot of teams that Collingwood have come up against, i.e. Adelaide. Let me take you back to the Adelaide Oval again, where Adelaide couldn't kick straight. They should have put the game away.
Yep, 100%.
Melbourne left the door. I know they beat you guys on King's birthday, but Melbourne left the door ajar. Inaccurate kicking. Was it more?
But McRae says this: you got to play the minutes. You got to play the minutes to win.
Okay.
And Collingwood will give you a look.
Yeah. I have a theory about Collingwood. You know my theory. I think Craig McRae, I think he sets you up.
He does, but he plays on chance. He plays on, we'll get more people to this contest, then we'll just go by chance that we'll win those contests more.
But
if you win it, you'll get it out the back.
I don't think it's chance, though. I think it's backed up statistically where 100%. They have the ability to go, we don't care what you guys do. We know what we do is going to work.
Yep.
And to be fair, it's hard to argue that because it's proven. You're 16 wins and 2 losses.
Look, Port were going to get a better chance to beat Collingwood than Saturday night. It was raining. It was at Adelaide Oval. Sellout crowd in front of your home. Like, it was loud there for Port.
Yeah.
You gotta compose yourself and win the game, and they didn't get the job done.
And there
were a lot of players down for Collingwood too. Like, to go in and have a sniff.
Nick Dacos barely had a sniff too.
You know. So
interesting to see how these two teams progress after that particular matchup, because Collingwood's going to do what Collingwood does. I want to see what Port does, because we're going to look at their run shortly, and it's not as easy as what everyone thinks. And second position is so crucial in this game because obviously the first final you get is at home. it may not be in their hands, but we'll discuss that shortly.
Going to be interesting.
It was a very good game, by the way. GWS train kept rolling on against Gold Coast. 40-point winners. The GWS have won 6 in a row now. Like,
Flying.
I don't think. I think now. I mean, I don't think anyone was sleeping on them. I just think if they were a Victorian club, people would have been talking about them a lot more. They're obviously not a club that gets a lot of doesn't get publicised anywhere near as much as what other clubs do.
No.
Adam Kingsley's doing a very good job. They've come a long way since the start of the year. Their run home is interesting. It is tricky.
They already know one's top 8 5 weeks ago.
100%. But they got the job done against Gold Coast, which was good to see. Don't know what's going to happen with Gold Coast. I just think it's typical Gold Coast. It's back to normality, isn't it? Like,
well, it's a team that's season's over against a team fighting for an 8th spot.
They're probably just waiting for end of season trip. MCG Sunday afternoon, another cracker. This was a really topsy turvy game. I didn't know where to look for this. I was one moment I was shocked. Next minute I was excited. Next minute I was hysterical. I didn't know what was going on in this game. I could not work it out. Melbourne ended up winning the game. But at no stage or under no circumstance were Adelaide ever in that game until maybe 10 minutes in the last quarter.
They got to run on.
Yeah. They kicked 4 goals in the first 4 minutes.
I'm not sold on Melbourne. I'm not big on them at all. And I think Adelaide, like, I didn't get to watch much footy this weekend, but I think Adelaide had a couple laid outs as well.
Yeah.
I think they had 2 laid outs.
I'm not 100% sure, to be honest.
Yeah,
I did watch the game. I wasn't sure who was in and out. But to me, they looked like they
There's no lead. I'm not sold on Melbourne. And they gave up 93 points. This is the thing. If they're going to score 97, they're giving up 93 to it, you know.
Well, they've given up 28 scoring shots. Put it that way.
For me, Adelaide just look exhausted. They've just run their season. They've run out of legs. They've got a lot of injuries now.
Yeah, completely agree. Look, we'll move on to St Kilda and North Melbourne. St Kilda got the job done, albeit, you know.
Are they the worst team in the 8?
They are. Officially are the worst
They're
team.
really
in the
bad
8.
at the moment.
A highly emotional game as well, given the fallout of what happened with the chit-chat during the week. It would have been good to see Brett Ratton, North Melbourne, get the win. Ross Lyon had his comments about Marvel Stadium, which I can't be bothered to speak.
No, I'm not speaking about it. I've seen 2 sides to Ross Lyon. One at the start of the year, he's good mood, happy, chirpy, and now I feel like they're not performing.
Do you know what I saw?
He's really
he was deflecting on how bad his team were.
Oh, they're horrible.
Yeah, that's the feeling that I'm getting. I mean, considering that one of their legends, Nick Riewoldt, was questioning their former coach, Brett Ratton, who was the coach on the weekend against Ross Lyon.
Correct.
And Nick Riewoldt's obviously, if you believe anything that you read in the media or hear in the media, he was big on getting Ross Lyon to the club. I just thought Ross had to sit there and defend all that sort of chat. And the decision to get him in. And I think one of the ways he did that was to deflect a lot of the attention.
Yep.
Paul, we're going to have to move on to the next segment because
here we go.
This is Australian sport's biggest rivalry. It's Carlton v Collingwood. Tell us what it means to you. I want to speak to someone. I want to see it through the lens of a Collingwood supporter. Tell me everything about it and what it means to you. How do you feel? What do you look into? Just everything that comes to your mind every time Collingwood comes up against.
Well, you
the Blues.
grow up hating Carlton, and vice versa. Carlton supporters hate losing to Collingwood.
Yep.
Sorry, mate, all my words tangled up. Still
all good.
Reflecting from the weekend. You just it's in your DNA to hate them, isn't it?
Sure.
Vice versa. So to be honest, I thought the rivalry actually died down for 4 or 5 years.
I believe it did as well.
It did.
Especially post 2019, 2020, after you guys made the grand final.
Yep.
And you had that, bit of lull, couple of years of lull.
And this is why I've said...
And COVID as well.
Yeah, but I back Carlton, but it's good to have the rival. When Carlton's going well and Collingwood's going well, the game has a bit of fire to it.
Yeah.
So it's good for footy.
What's your earliest memory of a Carlton and Collingwood game? What's from as far as you can remember where you had
Fev running through the huddle? Do you remember that?
Yeah.
That was one of my earliest.
When Eddie Betts kicked the goal of the year?
Yes.
Or was it? Yeah.
I don't think it was that. It might have been that game. There's been a couple. Camporelli knocked out Brodie Holland.
Yep.
That was probably the earliest
Sherrod
one.
Wellingham knocking out Cade Simpson.
Yeah. So there's been a couple little dirty, but for me it was the Camporelli one. That was a Sunday arvo at the G. I was really little then, but that was a really good one. I think Buckley buried him in the turf. But then I think last year just especially as a Carlton supporter, you have some fire in your belly from last year, round 23, and I feel like that has ignited it this year even more.
I agree with that. I think the first time round wasn't as big. Obviously, Carlton were struggling and the Pies were flying, and it was
a dead game.
It was a dead game. I think this time round, I think Carlton's got their balls back. They got their mojo back. They're flying. Collingwood are flying.
I'm shattered that there's injuries for Carlton. I want it to be the best Carlton, improve second half of the year.
So do you almost
hype's been about?
Yeah.
Taking on Collingwood, no injuries, top of the table.
Yeah.
Let's go, sort of thing.
I think we need to make something abundantly clear here from a Carlton supporter's eyes. I sit here, I respect what Collingwood does. I appreciate how their team plays. But under no circumstances is there any positivity around Collingwood that is in my life. This is not look, when these two teams play, like it gets to the point where walking around the city, if I see a Collingwood supporter, I'm eyeballing them. Like that's not a joke. It's not a joke. I'm not sitting here trying to start trouble. I don't start trouble, but I don't like Collingwood supporters. I have the utmost respect for their team. I have the utmost respect for their coach and their players. But in terms of their supporters, I fucking hate Collingwood supporters. And there's no room for positivity about anything Collingwood in my life.
What's wrong with Collingwood supporters, mate?
I've never met a good one.
You're looking at one.
That's one exception to the rule. No, an old friend of mine said to me a long time ago, I'm not sure if it was tongue in cheek, but he mentioned, he goes, have you ever met a good one? And I actually had to think about it. I haven't met many good Collingwood supporters.
There's a lot of ferals, I get that, but they were Collingwood.
Passionate mob.
And when you got the mob, look, we're up there. When you're a big club and you got a lot of supporters,
absolutely,
there's more chance you can have a feral. I've seen a lot of Carlton ferals in that cheer squad you used to sit in. Jeez, you count the teeth in one hand in that cheer squad.
Mate,
or the amount of
people in glass houses shouldn't throw stones, mate. Have you been into the Collingwood cheer squad?
I've been there, mate. It's not much better.
They're on parole or something over there, aren't they? No?
Centrelink's there as a major sponsor.
But look, it shapes up to be a big game. I do agree in a way. I'm not going into the game thinking, the injuries. To me, I think Carlton's at a point where it's next man up, that mentality. I don't care about the injuries. I understand that it may be used as an out.
I think, look, if you get Cripps and Chera back, beautiful.
I think it's game on. I think it's completely irrelevant who takes the field in these rivalry games between these two clubs. The moment that siren goes and the umpires walk out and then the players come out and you hear the roar, it's game on. We don't like you. You don't like us. Let's cut the bullshit. When Carlton versus Collingwood, it's hatred. There's nothing else in the middle.
It is, but I think
it's genuine hatred.
Carlton need to show something this week.
We'll win.
I don't think you'll win, but you got to show something because everyone's hyped up for the last 4 weeks. But for me, they're teams that you had to beat anyway. Like,
as far as I'm going to, sorry to interrupt. I know you've been saying that, but
you got to beat those teams.
Carlton, this playing group that Carlton has right now. From a Carlton supporters angle, they've earned our respect in the way that they've.
Adrian? How?
It's. I'll tell you why. Through the adversity. Okay,
you guys.
We're not going to get into it, are we?
No. But your club supporters are like goldfish, right? They got the shortest term. 8 weeks ago, you guys were horrendous, right? Atrocious,
undeniable.
We agree.
You're not denying it.
We agree.
We're not.
Okay, so now
I'm not disagreeing.
Okay, all right, so you agree. Now you get 4 wins, is it?
Yep.
Against
arguably
the 5 worst clubs in the comp.
Breaking history. 5 wins over 50 points. Okay, only the second club to do it.
You beat 18th, 16th, 15th, and who was the other one?
So 2 of those teams were supposedly top 8 teams, but yeah, go on.
Who?
Fremantle and Gold Coast were aspiring to be top 8
teams. Well, they're not.
teams.
They're 15th, and the Gold Coast is not much better.
Now, which we versed them 3 or 4 weeks ago.
14th,
yeah.
14th, 15th, 16th, and 18th. You beat the first, so they're good wins.
I'm not saying we don't have a challenge.
No.
We have our challenge against
But
Collingwood.
you can't forgive your club for beating these teams. You need a game where you said, all right.
Port Adelaide one? No?
Wow, when you're versing
7 players out, is what you're going to say? Yeah.
the Sandford VFL team.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, we
Right.
can tell that we've got a Collingwood supporter on.
I think,
Intellectually inept.
I think this week you're going to come against a strong opposition,
Agreed.
right? And look, you're going to be undermanned.
It's not an excuse, mate. I'm not. That's bullshit. No.
You're not using.
No, I'm not using it, mate.
All
No.
Regardless, you need Carlton need to show something this week. This is the week you need to show something. Not against. Look, and I was.
So, can you define?
The Port was a good win, but they did have a lot of important players out.
Right. Okay. So, can you define what show something is? What does show something mean?
Either be in a winning position late in the game,
And bottle it.
well, not bottle it,
Uh,
but be in a winning position,
right.
or show that you can go toe to toe with the best in the comp.
Okay. Fair. Okay.
So, and by winning position, I don't mean you're 3 goals up. You might be 4 points down, but you're still in a winning position to win the game.
Is there any injury news on the front that you've heard of? For
You got
Collingwood?
something to break, don't you?
I'm not breaking or saying anything. Anyway, I just hope to see Braden Maynard out there. That's all I'll say. Because to be honest with you, mate, aside from running his mouth and being a private security guard for Nick Dacos, is there anything else the bloke does?
He was all Australian last year.
Oh, all Australian. What? For having a Pendlebury haircut?
He was all
For
Australian.
having tape on his shoulders?
He's battling this year, but he's been very good this year.
Very good at being Nick Dacos' private security
He's
guard.
been very
Agreed.
good. Braden Maynard.
That's all he's good for.
Would he not be one of your best defenders?
He wouldn't. He'd have to have a trial before he comes
Would you
into
take
our
him before
team.
Sarge?
No, I wouldn't. He'd need to have a trial before he gets into our team.
No. Besides,
Braden Maynard is not a good AFL footballer. He's a good inspirational leader. I'm not denying he's a good leader and he's a good asset to have. He's not a very good AFL footballer.
He's not a good AFL footballer.
He's not an elite mate. What he does and how much recognition he gets are inversely correlated.
You don't watch
It's
Collingwood
ridiculous.
enough.
Oh, come on, mate. Please. I don't watch Collingwood enough. I watch him every week.
How is he not a good...
I watch Collingwood every... You know that. I watch Collingwood every week.
How is he not a good player?
He's an AFL footballer, but he should not be put in the bracket in the upper echelon of tiered players that he does. He's a good leader. He throws his weight around.
He was All-Australian last year.
He loves to run his mouth.
He was an All-Australian last year.
I don't care.
Well, he was an All-Australian.
Mate, what happened last year and what happened
If he was at Carlton, you'd be
what
paying him...
happens 12 months after you make the All-Australian? Patrick Cripps won the Brownlow. What's that count
If he
for?
was at Carlton,
What's
you'd be
it count
paying
for
him
12 months
$1.5
later?
million a year. And you know
Categorically untrue.
You know it.
Anyway.
If Williams is getting $750, then Maynard is worth double that, baby.
Mate, I'm not sitting here saying Williams is in the same category as Maynard.
I'm just saying
if you want to compare them, that's fair enough.
Carlton will be giving him $1.5 million a year, and Braden wouldn't
Do you
be
reckon
working
he'd still run his mouth if he was going to have $1.5 million?
Pina coladas in the back pocket.
You mean the coffees?
Yeah,
The espressos. Is that Carlton, mate?
that's true. He's in Wogville.
No, look, in all seriousness, I genuinely mean that when I say I just think Braden Maynard gets spoken about way too much. I'm not saying he's not a good player, but I don't think he should be put in the same bracket as some other players.
Yep.
But we'll see this
Fair
Friday night. September run, we're going to move on. We're going to go through this quickly, Paul. We're going to bring up the ladder for the punters at home. And you'll see here that Collingwood well on top. The second position now is up for grabs with Brisbane closely on the heels of Port Adelaide. And then it gets really interesting. Obviously, we go down to 5th, 6th and 7th are all on level points. And funnily enough, 8th, 9th and 10th are all on level points. Essendon on 36 points in 11th. Sydney on 34. I'm going to go out on a limb and say I don't think 11th and 10th are in the running. I mean, look, Sydney and Essendon versus each other.
I think Sydney can make it still.
So that would mean Sydney have to win against Essendon.
Yeah, I think the loser of that doesn't make it.
Cast.
Yeah, that's it. Rule them out.
Yeah, okay.
And it's good. Each round we're slowly just ruling one team
So
out.
if Sydney win, Sydney's on that half game, the same as Geelong, Carlton, and Richmond. So there's 4 teams there that have had the
Can I say something?
had the draw.
Isn't it funny that 4 of the teams fighting for that top 8 position all have a draw.
Yeah, it's not funny. It's ironic.
It's ironic.
100% agree. I 100% agree.
Really interesting.
But yeah, look, so that's the ladder there for you. We'll just scroll over now. We'll put up the next image there with the teams from 5th to 12th. You can see the Bulldogs, massive games. Again, we speak about this every week, but the games upcoming, moving forward now, have so much relevance. And we saw that on Friday night at Marvel Stadium when Bulldogs beat Essendon. Like Essendon 2 weeks ago was sitting pretty fifth in the top 8. They're now sitting 11th. The Bulldogs have elevated to 5th. St Kilda, we mentioned earlier, 6th there.
Yeah,
and St Kilda, you don't need to be a genius to work out. They're probably not the best team in the top, from that 5th to 8th position. They're probably borderline questionable if they deserve to be there. Time will tell. But they've got Hawthorn this week at the MCG, and that's not going to be an easy game. I personally think
Hawthorn will win.
I think the MCG brings them into it.
Hawks?
Yeah, it brings them into it a lot more.
Playing at the G, yeah.
Yeah. And then we got GWS, who's got to go down to Mars Stadium this week and versus the Bulldogs. The Bulldogs rarely lose there. I mean, and then you look at GWS's next round. I know they've won 6 in a row, but they've got the Bulldogs this week. Then they got to versus Sydney Swans. And if Sydney win against Essendon,
and then beat the Giants,
but just even before, like going into that Giants game, that's got to be one of the biggest Sydney derbies ever, Battle of the Bridge or whatever you want to call it. And then they've got to go to Port Adelaide away, and then they've got to versus Essendon at home. Now, conversely, if Essendon win this week against the Swans, they've then got Eagles and Kangaroos, and then have that game against the Giants away. Like how big?
Yeah.
We can't exactly quantify or actually get a gauge as to how important these games are. Like, it's all there to see. The season is still up for grabs, and it's the AFL's dream because we're going to head into that round 24, and we're not going to know who's going to make the top 8.
Nah, well, I'm looking at the games. Look, Sydney plays Melbourne in the last round. Essendon plays Collingwood.
St Kilda's got to versus the Lions away.
Port plays Richmond.
Sydney versus Melbourne.
What are your thoughts on Richmond?
Essendon's got to versus Collingwood. Like, I mean,
yeah, it's big. What are your thoughts on Richmond? Can they make it?
Yes, and it starts this week. I know that they're in some sort of run. They ambled across the line against Hawthorn by a point on Saturday. If they beat the Demons, they will make the finals. I think their elimination final is this week. Serious.
The D's, yeah.
Yep.
It's a big game. It's a really big game.
And all these teams,
Carlton
Collingwood's huge. And then Carlton's got St Kilda, Melbourne, Gold Coast away. It's not an easy run either. But to be fair, Carlton has proved me wrong the last.
With Carlton's injuries now, I start some game like the Saints game gets a bit harder.
St Kilda aren't in the best of form.
No, I know, but
it's hard to judge this far out. Like, we're here hypothesising. It's all good for fun, as you said. But throw your ladder predictors away, mate.
Then you get injuries, and then things change. So who knows what's going to happen by round 24 and what comes out.
Is there anyone there on that on that Excel sheet there? Is there anyone there that jumps out at you that you go, okay, I think you guys are going to miss. I think you guys are going to make it. I know that we speak about how hard it is to judge now. Is there anything there you see?
I think the Dogs make it, and I just don't see St Kilda holding on.
I see Bulldogs finishing 5th and Carlton finishing 8th, and that's a first elimination final. As a Carlton fan, I'd love to have, because that'll be at the MCG. I'd be rubbing my hands together. I know there's a lot of water to go on the bridge, so we're just having a laugh here, if that makes sense. But if Carlton do end up,
Carlton's going to get their players, back. We also heard, I heard. Look, you can almost write the loss this week. You don't really need to win this week. Anyway.
No, we don't.
Round 21, 23, 24, the games that Carlton need to eye off. So you need to beat Saints, Suns.
Carlton's on 38 points, right? If they win three, that gets them to
50.
What does that get them to? That gets them to 12 wins. So they're 9, 1, and 8 as it stands. Yep. So that gets them to 12 wins.
I think you beat.
Do you think 12 wins gets you into the finals? The percentage may help, considering.
I think it's because a lot of teams play each other. So you're going to get losses. Like, You look
Or
around
draws.
like you look at the Giants, like they play the Dogs this week.
Yep.
They play Port in Port,
Yep.
Essendon, and then you verse them in the last round too.
I still have this.
I've got Carlton
really-
finishing 8th.
I've got this sick feeling that Giants game is going to be the position for 8th.
If you lose to the Giants in Melbourne in round 23,
It's not out of the possibility.
how do you feel? How would you feel?
I haven't thought that far ahead.
Jeez, you'd want to cry, wouldn't you?
Anyway, I tell you what, this segment, this September run segment, I
Gets better and better every
genuinely
week.
love looking at it every single week, and it head fucks me every single week is a different puzzle.
Yeah, it's good.
So fun times ahead. Look, let's move on.
Sorry.
Going to move on to who's cooking. Paul, have you got your top 5 teams for me? I think it's I just
I haven't
interested-
changed much at all.
Yeah.
So I'm still Dacos, Bont,
No. Top 5 teams.
teams. Sorry.
Teams first. Mate. Jump the gun, mate.
I've jumped the gun. Collingwood, Port, Brisbane.
Mm-hmm.
I've still got Geelong 4, Melbourne 5th. Melbourne still have not convinced me. If Geelong play Melbourne tomorrow at the G, I'm going Geelong.
Very good.
Are we the same?
No, we're not. Collingwood clearly number 1. Brisbane elevates to second. Brisbane elevates to second. Defensively, they've impressed me the last 4 to 5
They
weeks.
were good again. Defensively against the Cats.
I was a little bit disappointed in their game against Melbourne. I took your advice. I rewatched the game after watching it live, and I took what you said, and you mentioned to me that perhaps Brisbane could have taken a little bit more out of it. And after watching that Melbourne game, I wasn't as upset at Brisbane as what I was immediately after the game. So Brisbane for me is the second best at the moment. Is the second best team in the comp.
Yep.
Port Adelaide number 3, Melbourne number 4, Carlton number 5. Carlton's the 5th best team in the comp at the moment.
What? Say that again.
Carlton is number 5. I'll read it out for
Ahead
you.
of who?
Hang on. Listen, I know you go for Collingwood. It doesn't mean your ears can't work. Collingwood, Brisbane, Port Adelaide, Melbourne. That's 4. Yeah?
Yep.
Yeah, Collingwood, 4. Yeah? You can count, yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah. Carlton, 5th best team in the comp.
Better than Geelong.
At the moment, they are,
Better
yeah.
than the Dogs.
At the moment, they are, yes. I don't know what's something.
You are fucking delusional. You
I don't know what's
you're
so
the
incredulous.
5th best team in the competition.
At the moment, the way we are playing, we are the 5th best team in the comp.
So what did Geelong do to warrant getting kicked out? They lost by 11 points.
It's not
the
what
second
Geelong.
best
It's
team
not
in the
what.
comp.
It's not what Geelong did. It's what Carlton's doing.
Who you beat up the waffle West Coast?
Beat up Port Adelaide. You guys stumbled across them.
My, you make me
You don't have to
Yes,
agree.
Carlton. Yeah.
I just think the way Carlton's playing, they're the 5th best team in the comp.
Okay.
They haven't been there the whole year.
Anyone looks like the 5th best team in the comp when
Oh,
you beat
okay.
West Coast.
I'm going to throw shade on it like that. Okay. Oh, good. Your top
Let's
5.
see if they're still in there next week, Adrian.
We'll see. Good point. Very good point.
That's a good point.
Might have them equal 5th.
Equal.
They might actually elevate to 2 if they beat Collingwood.
Most definitely.
Yeah.
that
Anyway,
won't
look, we're
happen.
not here to get the Collingwood supporters' respect on Carlton. No, I'm joking.
We're going
Top 5 plays, Paul. Tell me.
Dacos, Bont, Petrarca, Merritt, Green still.
Okay. Nick Dacos, despite a quiet game, he's still that far ahead.
Yeah. He did have quite one.
Christian Petrarca, number 2. Toby Green, number 3. Marcus Bontempelli elevates to number 4. He was super. On Friday night.
He was good.
He was the main reason why Bulldogs won that
He
game.
kicked a nice goal too
Mate,
in the
he's,
third quarter.
I watching him. He's another one I watched live. Unbelievable. The way this guy moves. Oh my god.
Even if
he's a Mercedes.
he's
He's
good.
unbelievable.
And do you know what? As much as
Sorry, and Zach Butter's number 5.
you gone Butters. Yeah, he was good on the weekend.
Yeah, tell me about Bont.
If-
What do you reckon?
I know Dacos will probably win the Brownlow.
Yep.
But if the Bont was to win it, I would be his worthy winner.
I think if anyone aside from Dacos, such as Petrarca or Bontempelli win it, I think either of them are worthy winners.
Yep.
But that's not going to be a discussion because your love child, somewhat my love child, Nick Dacos, is going to win by that far. It's
Nick.
not funny.
God, Dacos.
Round 20 preview, Paul. Let's get through it quickly. Friday night, obviously we've spoken about it. So far, biggest game in AFL calendar. I know you'll say the Anzac Day is, but this is the biggest rivalry in AFL sports history. Collingwood v Carlton, 95,000 gorillas are going to be there. It's going to be mental. I cannot wait. I actually cannot wait.
Really?
Oh mate, I'm that. You know the feeling when you're in the city, and you're on the way to the MCG, whether you catch a train, a tram, you drive in, and you're walking to the MCG, and around the ground you see Carlton supporters with their scarves. You see, mate, I love it. I live for this shit. I absolutely love it. It gets me. I can't explain it. It's an out of body experience when you go to these games. You're guaranteed to see 25 people that you know. How are you? You G'd up. Yeah, we're good. Let's go. Blah, blah, blah. And it's good. I love it.
Until you walk in and you got to wait 50 metres in line to get a fucking hot chips.
Yeah.
Right? And then I'm fucking pissed off. Yeah. And I missed the first bounce because there's traffic. But that's half glass empty and that's half glass full.
A-firm. Who wins? We shouldn't even ask. Let's just skip the theatrics.
We know who's going to. Yeah, we know what the answer
No, I know what you're going to say.
Yeah, well, I'm going to say Collingwood, and you're going to say the fifth best team in the comp in Carlton.
I think Carlton wins. No, look, it's a good opportunity for Carlton to show something.
Yeah, I'm intrigued. Do you know what I'm most intrigued to see?
Yep.
And I've said it. I thought Carlton played underman Port and then some lower teams. I want to see how they go up against the best of the best.
But hang on a sec. You were saying that Carlton's undermanned, which we are.
Yeah.
So how do you look? Yeah, anyway.
Well, it's tough, but your system can still show something.
I agree. I think the way we play is more important.
The way. You might not execute, but
got to show something.
You got to show something.
Yeah,
you do.
Geelong versus Fremantle at GHB Stadium.
Geelong.
Same here. Big game here at Mars. I'm actually not taking the piss. This is actually a very big game.
It's in Ballarat.
Yeah, I know. Bulldogs and Giants.
What the fuck's going in Ballarat?
They got to make their money somehow, man.
Yep.
Who wins?
It's tough. Dogs.
Dogs as well. Break the 6-game run from Giants. Dogs. Gold Coast, Brisbane at Heritage Bank Stadium.
Brisbane.
Yeah. Are you confident in that?
You're not?
No, I am.
They're your second best team in the comp. They're going to lose to the Suns, are they?
It's not how. It's not how. I see where you're coming from. I get that. Fair enough. You want to question that.
Look. If
I
the
say
Lions...
Brisbane will win. I don't have much confidence that they win by as much as what the market expects them to win by. There you go.
Oh, yeah, no, that's fair enough.
Yeah.
It's a big good game. Oh, that's good. That's this.
What game? Hang on. What game do you watch on Saturday night? Do you watch the Essendon?
I'm actually
Sydney
going to
game?
the rugby on Saturday night. So we watch
All Blacks.
The All Blacks and the Wallabies.
MCG.
Yeah.
Nice. Who wins Essendon Sydney?
Geez, who do you watch? Geez, that's even better for me. I won't watch any. So fucking winner. This is tough. It's a tough game. I'm going to go the Bombers.
Ooh. Which would mean that's we're not here to hold you to it.
I'm just saying.
I know.
Just because I don't know. I could confidently say Sydney. I don't know. I'm just picking Essendon.
Okay.
Flip of the coin game, isn't it?
I think it is a coin flip. I got no idea. At this stage, I got no idea.
Port win the show.
Port beats Adelaide.
Yeah, I think no Rankin.
He's a big loss.
And they lost another one of their key
We didn't
backs.
mention that. He was huge on Sunday.
Yeah.
He was massive. Okay, Port. I agree. Port wins. Hawthorn St Kilda Sunday.
Hawthorn.
Oh my God, no, it's at Marvel. Oh, I thought it was at the MCG. It's at Marvel.
Because the rugby's on the night before.
My apologies. It's at Marvel Stadium.
Richmond Melbourne's on it at the
MCG. I thought it was at the G. How did I get that wrong? I'm going to go St Kilda. That's literally the swing. If this game's at the MCG, Hawthorn wins.
You going Saints?
I'm going to go Saints.
After that performance they showed.
Thank you. I'm going to go St Kilda.
I'll go Hawks.
All right, Richmond, Melbourne. Mini elimination
Actually,
final.
mind you, Hawks beat Saints.
At Etihad. I remember.
Etihad
they did correct.
Does that change your tip?
No.
Okay. Thought I was way.
No, good man. Richmond, Melbourne. This game's at the MCG.
Yeah, this is... Oh, I'm going to go Melbourne.
I am too. No confidence. Richmond will trouble them. Mark my words, Richmond will give them a problem.
I hope they do.
Richmond will cause problems for them.
I hope they do.
I'm going to go the D's. I
want Richmond to win because it keeps that race short. Yeah, and it keeps Melbourne's spot up for grabs.
What you want, I suppose, from a spectator or a spectacle, if you want to put it that way, if you enjoy the theatre, you want Sydney to win because the last game no one cares about. Sorry, no disrespect.
That's the shortest I've seen West Coast all year, $2.10.
If Sydney beat Essendon, that takes them to 38 points. That's on a Saturday.
Mm-hmm.
that would take them, I'm going to say, just looking quickly at the ladder, that takes them above Richmond leading into that Sunday game. If Carlton lose and Richmond and Sydney both win, Carlton gets relegated to 11th. And that just makes it even more like it, yeah. I don't know. I just think for the spectacle, I'd love to see.
Sydney, yeah. You're right.
Just for the whole theatre of things and that purpose, I would love to see Richmond win. I would love to see Carlton win, and I would love to see. I'd love to see all three teams win. All the teams that are on the 2-point differential, 38 and 34 points. Anyway,
Jeez, if Sydney win, yeah, it's interesting.
Massive,
huge game.
Paul, thanks for joining us.
Thank you, mate.
Good
luck Friday night.
This is a disclaimer. If Carlton does not win, you do not have my permission.
Why don't you dress up in a Collingwood?
You do not have my permission to call me or tag me in anything. Anyone else, the names that you mentioned, the receipts that you got, please just save them for someone else. But thank you for coming on. Good to have you back.
Great pies.
To all our viewers, thank you for watching. Like, share, subscribe. To our loyal followers so far, thank you very much. I hope you all have a very good weekend. Go Blues.
Go Pies.
Thanks, guys.